Hey guys, so let's talk today about a science fiction book that was actually published last year, Too Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. This is an especially intelligent, dense, uniquely written look at a future that's as different socially, economically, politically, individually from the present as our past is from us right now. Mixes centuries-old ideas and philosophies with future events and circumstances in a world that's both moved on from many things we consider conventional, but has also limited certain means of expression. It's a book that at times had me unsure whether or not I was smart enough for a full understanding, while by the end of it I felt all the more rewarded for having put the time and focus into it. Set in the 25th century, social and political norms are, quite literally, nothing like what we know them as now. Thanks to the technology that allows for extremely fast-traveling flying cars, the idea of loyalty to one particular place, the nation you're born in, has just completely changed. Patriotism to a particular landmass, a country, is no longer relevant. Instead, there are what's called hives, split up not by place, but by philosophy, whatever laws and ideals each individual person identifies most with. There are a few major hives each and every person can join of their own free will. There's some animosity amongst certain hives. Each has a different kind of leader and a different way in which that leader is made a leader, but generally they work together. And families have changed. The usual home of parents and children, blood relatives, has become more like a collective of more random people, friends, colleagues, etc., and this is called a bash. And then organized religion is not just diminished, but outlawed entirely, though personal spirituality is heartily encouraged and given a place of importance in people's daily lives. One of many roles a person can have is sensair, basically a mix between priest and spiritual guidance counselor that cannot themselves tell the people they're assigned to what to believe in, but can sort of help them to discover their own beliefs. There's also a taboo, too, with gender, as in to speak of it is frowned upon in every situation. The words he and she seen as vulgar. Things like this where you're not entirely sure whether they've gotten things right or wrong, or if this is how it should be or not, but through their experiences from now until then, this is where they've ended up. It's up in the air whether or not the handling of any of these things are the best or the worst, or somewhere in between. And then commentating on these things and telling us this world's story is a character, our narrator, called Mycroft Canner. This book is the first half of a history that he's writing, a record of events that is meant for readers of his future, and that's how he writes it. He's got a very particular view on things, and often we're given information through ongoing dialogue with the imagined reader that he's writing for. He himself is a well-known figure, apparently a criminal, though what for is not at first revealed to us, as Mycroft assumes this future reader will already know who he is. Certain criminals of this future, like Mycroft, are put into a program where they're servicers, a lifelong community service kind of thing, where they'll have certain things they must do to help others, help other people in exchange for food. Mycroft's role is that of an incredibly intelligent, capable assistant to many of the world's prominent peoples and leaders, whom much of our story focuses on. Through Mycroft's eyes, we see a series of events. Many plot threads come together to form a picture of what this world is like, who these prominent people are, who Mycroft is, and what's brewing in the background as tension rises in a world where peace is seen as a given. An extremely important, influential list of political leaders and celebrities, kind of a top 10 list that holds a huge political significance akin to the most persuasive propaganda, is stolen. There are many involved in the story, which I've barely even scratched the surface of, including all of these leaders, a Bosch family of people who run the world's largest transit system, a boy with seemingly impossible abilities that may just be the most important person to ever have lived, and Mycroft himself. What follows is a story full of nuanced complexity, not just in the plot, but in the way it's told and in the future to which it's set. I've never read a book quite like this, both technical and thought-provoking, sometimes difficult to grasp, but eminently readable. This is the kind of book where, at first, you feel as if its ideas may outweigh the story itself, but no, it all works together as something truly unique and, honestly, in a way, indescribable. When I first picked this up and read the first bit, I honestly felt that I just could not grasp what was happening. But fear not going in yourself, because truly every bit of how this is given to the reader feels intentional. Mycroft's writing this is as if you already know a lot of this stuff, and who these people are, and what this is all leading up to. So you're given information that, as the story goes on, you can contextualize more and more. Things become simpler to piece together, and then the things you read earlier suddenly start making sense. It's both compelling and rewarding, especially written this way, as all this work you're doing to understand things means that much more, due to what I think is a very satisfying conclusion, and then transition to the next book. Much of this book's charm, intelligence, readability, and it's got these and more in abundance, come from Mycroft's personality, which is great. He has a character and the writing style go hand in hand to the point where he's just got this like emotional hold on the reader. We see all of the characters through his eyes, and it's this great dynamic of being enlightening towards them and enlightening towards Mycroft as well. So many of the people in this are hugely important and prominent, like I said, and to see both the weight that they have and the humanity, good and bad sides of it, that they have just makes them all super dynamic and interesting to read about, especially how they all connect together, because many of these people are leaders, so there's some tension there, but they consider this time to be peaceful. War has been basically eradicated in their eyes. They're not even really sure what the build-up to something like that might be, or where on the spectrum any issues they might have may put them. And so this is like an imperfect utopia. It's someone's perfect world, but not everybody's. To see all the different viewpoints of the hives, their leaders, and their members is absolutely fascinating. And one of my favorite characters to read about this is a sensair called Carlisle. Without giving too much away, there's this scene in which Carlisle, as a sensair, is helping this other character to figure out certain spiritual questions, all the while Carlisle not able to actually tell the other any sort of answer. He can only lead. So there's this back and forth, this great conversation between these two characters that's just so swift and intense that it feels like an action sequence. And so stuff like that's just what stood out to me most about Ada's writing style, written through the lens of Mycroft. She's got a sense of not only imaginative world building and technical description, but of much more. Historical knowledge, philosophical questioning and insight, intense emotion, plenty of wit, beautiful imagery, powerful moments. Her writing is just fantastic, and it serves the story and its characters so well. At the core of this is a mild mystery plot that just builds and builds and builds until it's all-consuming. And what she does every step of the way just works its way to something bigger and blows my mind, at times almost literally, in the most satisfying way. She introduces and blends everything from the 18th century Enlightenment era to humans bred to be supercomputers to fantasy-like supernatural powers that could change the world. And she does it with ease. I'm quite pleased to announce that very soon you'll see on my channel not only a review of the second book in this series, Seven Surrenders, which was just released, but also an interview with Ada, so that we can hopefully get a look at her process and give both those that are new to these and those that have already read them some more insight into what she's doing here. I hope you'll look out for that, and I hope you'll give this book a shot. Going into it from the initial description, I wasn't sure if it would be for me, but I found it both thought-provoking and very hard to put down. Now's a good time, especially to jump into it, since this first one and the second one just really go together as a set, so it's great to read them back to back. I'll discuss that more in the second book's review. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and definitely let me know if you have read the book or if you plan to pick it up. I would love to hear your opinions. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later with more.